You're smart, you read the books, you've done the work. So why do you keep making the same mistakes with money? Stop blaming market crashes, your lack of knowledge, or the fear of missing the next big investment. This is about something far more dangerous. It's your own psychology. Your mind is working against you, and your emotions are sabotaging your wealth every single day. In the next 12 minutes, I'll expose the 6 hidden mental traps that keep you from true financial freedom. All brought to you thanks to this good man Morgan Housel in his book Psychology of Money. Because in the end, intelligence alone doesn't protect you from these traps. It hides them. Your choices feel rational because they're yours. But that's the first trap smart people fall into. Let's start there. Trap number 1. You think you're logical. Why do 2 people look at the same investment and make opposite choices? One buys, one sells. They're not stupid. They're not even wrong. They're just playing different games. Everyone has a story that shapes how they see money. A lens, and your lens is built from your experience and driven by your emotions, not logic. Think about it. A stockbroker who lost everything in the Great Depression might never invest again. Meanwhile, a tech worker who became rich during the dot-com boom might chase risks others would run from. Or someone who graduated during the 2008 crash might fear the stock market for life, while someone who got into the crypto in 2017 might think volatility is just part of the game. So it's the same world, let me turn this view, with just different lenses. You can study the history of the 2008 crash. You can read every article, watch every documentary, but you will never feel the emotional scars of those who lived through it. You will never understand why they panic every time the market dips. And that's the difference between knowing something and living it. Your experience with money is just a tiny piece of the puzzle. The tiny piece shapes how you see everything. You're living in a bubble, and outside of that bubble, recessions you didn't experience, booms you missed, risks you had never to take. Now you might be thinking, okay, I get it, my perspective is limited, but if I just work hard enough, make a smart decision, I stay disciplined, I can control the outcome, right? Wrong. And that brings us to the second trap. Trap number 2, you think you're in control. Why do some people succeed with less effort while others do everything right and still lose? We want to believe success is earned and failure is deserved, but that's not how money works. Behind every story of success or failure is a mix of effort, luck, and risk. And we forget how powerful those last 2 forces are. Take Bill Gates, for example. He's brilliant, he's disciplined, he's strategic. He's everything a person of his caliber you would expect to have. But most people forget that in the 1970s, Gates attended one of the only schools in America with a computer. I mean, at the time when computers were rare, expensive, and inaccessible, he got years of practice before most people even saw a keyboard. The single detail was a 1 in a million stroke of luck, and it changed everything. Now compare that to his close friend Kent Evans. Equally brilliant, obsessed with computers. They worked on projects together, they had the same access, the same drive, but Kent died in a mountaineering accident before finishing high school. Another 1 in a million event. But this time it was risk, not luck. So 2 brilliant minds, 2 completely different outcomes, both outside of their control. And that's the point. You can do everything right and still lose, and you can mess everything up and still win. It's very uncomfortable, but that's the reality. So here is what that means for you. You don't take all the credit when things go right, and you don't take all the blame when things go wrong. And don't even judge others too fast. You can never see the full picture. That also means be careful with people you admire. Extreme success usually comes from circumstances you can't repeat. The playbook depends on luck. You won't get or risk you cannot afford to take. It's better to build a financial life that can survive luck, because when bad luck hits, and it will, survival is what matters. You need to stay in the game as long as possible, and eventually things will turn around. But once you're winning, once they do turn, what happens? And that's the most dangerous trap. Trap number 3, the never enough trap. Most people ruin their finances chasing more. They want a bigger house, a luxury car, exclusive vacations. Why? It's the status. They want to feel more validated. They want to feel admired. Even people who already have more than enough still risk everything to have more. So why do they do it? Let me tell you a story. In 2021, Sam Bankman-Fried was 29 years old and worth over 20 billion. His company, FTX, had become the second largest crypto exchange in the world. The media called him the next Warren Buffett. Everyone wanted a piece of him. Politicians, celebrities, investors. He was one of the richest self-made billionaires in history. And that was just the beginning. But behind the curtain, he was taking customers' money and using it to fund his own trading and investments. Money that wasn't his to touch. And he didn't need the money to survive or to feed his family. He just wanted more control, more status, more admiration. He wanted more money. The word enough was never part of the plan. So he kept pushing and the empire collapsed overnight. He lost billions of customers' money. He betrayed his investors and ended up arrested and disgraced. And alone. And that's the danger of never enough. It's a silent trap, and most of us don't even realize it's happening. Especially in today's world. You earn good money until you meet someone earning more. You buy a nice car and then someone shows up in a nicer one. You feel proud of what you've built until you scroll social media and suddenly you feel behind. Comparison has no ceiling. No matter how successful you are, the bar keeps moving. Philosopher Bertrand Russell once said that it is impossible to escape envy by means of success. Even history's greatest weren't immune. Napoleon envied Caesar. Caesar envied Alexander. Alexander envied Hercules, who wasn't even real. And that's how endless this game is. I'm not saying that you should give up. Never give up. But refuse to trade what matters for what doesn't. It's not that simple, but you have to define what enough means for you. Draw the line, and once you find it, protect it. And no extra million is worth losing your peace. Once you know what enough is, here is where the most people mess up next. Trap number 4. Looking rich versus being rich. So do you want to know what is the fastest way to go broke? It's trying to look rich. Heavy fancy cars, luxury watches, going on exotic vacations. They all look like wealth. But as Morgan Housel puts it, spending money to show how much money you have is the fastest way to have less of it. We judge wealth by what we see, but true wealth is what you don't see. You see someone driving a $100,000 car and you assume they're rich. But what you don't see is the car loan, is the stress, is the pressure to keep up with appearances. The fact that they are one job loss away from collapse. Housel puts it this way. Wealth is the money you don't spend. It's what you keep, not what you show off. Looking rich is spending. Being wealthy is not spending. The money you didn't use to upgrade the car. You didn't flash them on Instagram. You didn't burn them just to feel successful for a moment. Wealth is not loud, it's silent. And it's what gives you freedom, time and peace of mind. And it's funny because there is this paradox where most bad financial decisions come from trying to look rich, not to be rich. Because looking rich gets attention, but building wealth is silent. No one claps when you invest every month. No one notices when you skip the new phone. But those are the moves that build lasting wealth. So if you're chasing admiration, money is a weak tool. Real respect doesn't come from what you own. It comes from how you treat people. With humility, with kindness, with empathy. These bring more admiration than any luxury item ever could. So what's the solution? How do you actually avoid this trap? The easiest solution is to get comfortable not looking rich. The path to financial freedom is about choosing long-term peace over short-term praise. True wealth is invisible, and that's exactly what makes it powerful. Now, but wait a second, you may say, if wealth is invisible, how does it actually grow? I am glad you asked. Because that's trap number 5, underestimating time. Warren Buffett is worth around 160 billion. But did you know that more than 156 billion of that came after his 65th birthday? Oh yeah, he didn't get rich from chasing big returns. He got rich from starting early and staying in the game. It's time, not talent, the most powerful force in finance. But our brains aren't built to grasp how powerful compounding is. And that's why Buffett's story feels unbelievable. He started investing at the age of 10. By 30, he was a millionaire. But what made him one of the richest people alive was staying in the game for over 80 years. If he started in his 30s and retired by his 60s, he'd still be successful, comfortable. He'd be set for life, for sure, but you probably wouldn't know his name. Because compounding isn't about high returns. It's about earning good returns for a long time. And that's the secret, that's the whole game. Most people think smart investing means chasing the biggest gains, finding the next Amazon, timing the next bull run. But those are one-time wins, very rare, very hard to repeat, and often dependent on luck. True wealth comes from good returns, earned consistently over a long time. It's built slowly, quietly, and that's the power of compounding. It doesn't feel like much at first, but give it time, and that's when the magic happens. So you build wealth over time, that's great, but then what? What's the point of all this money? And that's trap number 6. Money buys freedom. What if the real reward of money isn't a car or a house or even your status? What if it is something else entirely? Morgan Housel says that the greatest benefit of money isn't the things you can buy. It's freedom, especially freedom over your time. Controlling your time is the highest dividend money pays. Because deep down, we don't want just money. We want more control, more space to think, more space to breathe, or even to choose. Even if you enjoy your job, doing it on someone else's schedule can still feel like a chore. And today, the pressure never stops. We check emails at night, we take calls on weekends. We stay on even when we are supposed to be off. The constant pressure comes at a cost. Back in 1981, a researcher named Angus Campbell studied what makes people happy. He found that feeling in control of your life is a bigger predictor of happiness than wealth, health, or any other factor. That's why financial freedom isn't about having more, but living your life on your terms. As Housel writes, the highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want, when I want, with who I want to, and for how long as I want. And that's the goal. Not the Rolex, the luxury vacation, or the powerful car. It's the freedom. And once you have that, you've won the game. Your mind is the biggest obstacle to wealth, not the market, not the economy, and definitely not the lack of opportunity. These 6 traps are invisible until someone shows them to you. Now you know them, now you've seen them, you cannot unsee them. Learn how to master your psychology, and money becomes a tool for freedom, not stress. Keep ignoring them, and you will be making the same mistakes no matter how much you earn. So here is the question, my friend. Will you escape the traps, or will you stay stuck in them?